The 2022 elections are very close. About 3 weeks from now, we'll be going to polls as Kenyans to choose our leaders. So Dr. BMS is asking you today, who will you vote for? Specifically, who will be your presidential candidate of choice? Will you vote Wajackoyah? Will you vote Baba? Will you vote the hustler? Or will you vote the pastor? I would like us to ponder these questions today on Dr. BMS because the elections have a great bearing on our health, the health of our body, mind, and soul, BMS, which is always the interest of Dr. BMS. And for this reason, we need to interrogate the agenda of our leaders from the local levels up to the national level so that we can satisfy ourselves that we are choosing people who will take care of our health, body, mind, and soul. And so for this reason, I come back to the question, who will you vote for? Will you vote for Wajackoyah? Will you vote for Baba? Will you vote for Hustler? Or will you vote for the pastor? But before we go into this, I would like you to take a moment and subscribe to our channel, Dr. BMS, if you already have not subscribed, because your subscription will make us have a community where we can discuss these things in details and influence our mind, our actions positively for the betterment of our health. And so back to our discussion today. Who will you vote for? Will you vote for the mavericks, Professor George Wajackoyah, and to a lesser extent, the Reverend Maure? Or will you vote for the veterans, Baba and the Hustler? They have been in this thing for a long time. And specifically when you are considering their health agenda, will you vote for the mavericks or the veterans? I would like us to dissect this in detail, starting with Professor George Wajackoyah, who to me is not only a novice, but he's also a maverick. So Professor George Wajackoyah, what does he promise to do for us as a presidential candidate in matters health? He is a maverick because he has come up with ideas that have never been heard of, and they're exciting all of us in Kenya. I would like to start by just playing two videos which convey a message that is contrasting, but both these messages are coming from Professor George Wajackoyah, so that we just see the extent of the influence he's had on our thinking with his agenda.
Ati wewe ni nani?
Wajackoyah.
Kende. Aya, Wajackoyah akikaa mtakuwa unafanya aje? Ayayayaya.
Tingisha muti, tingisha muti.
Tukigusa bongi hapo Kenya, tutapata hela za kigeni, nasi tutalipa deni zetu. Ndivyo semavyo Wajackoyah. Tukigusa bongi hapo Kenya, tutapata hela za kigeni, nasi tutalipa deni zetu. Ndivyo semavyo Wajackoyah.
So from these two videos, you can see that in one of the videos, there are those who are thinking that the agenda of Professor George Wajackoyah will make people smoke maybe even small children. And that is a bit negative. It is scary to many people, especially parents, the older generation. And so for that reason, the things that he's saying are not very welcome, and he may not be their candidate of choice. But from the second video, you can see those who are saying things that are positive. They're talking about economic development through the things that Professor Wajackoyah is proposing. And for this reason, to these people, he may just be the Messiah that we are waiting for to solve all our problems. And so he will be their candidate. So then, what is Professor George Wajackoyah promising? Interestingly, the agenda of Professor George Wajackoyah is mainly premised on economics, the economic development of this country. But what he's proposing to do to improve our economic well-being has a big bearing on health, and that's why this excitement in people is coming about, and this is why also Dr. BMS is interested in Professor George Wajackoyah. So Professor Wajackoyah, as you know, is talking about legalization of marijuana. He's talking about snake farming. He's talking about using our wildlife to export. He's talking about us using bush meat both as food and as a commodity for export. And all these things he's talking about have an economic bearing, but also a health bearing. And so for me as Dr. BMS and someone who works with people, some patients who are sometimes victims of abuse of marijuana, then when Professor Wajackoyah says he's going to legalize marijuana, myself and others who do what I do get very interested. So when we legalize marijuana, we're going to be planting it, according to Professor George Wajackoyah, we're going to be planting it in farms, and it will be that type of marijuana that is not the one that causes mental health problems, other health problems when you smoke. You remember marijuana, we have got two main types or two main chemical substances. We have got the one that causes addiction. It's called THC. I'll not go into the details about that today, lest we lose track of our story. And then we have another one that is used for other uses, medicinal uses, industrial uses, making clothing, material, ropes, all those. So Wajackoyah is saying he's going to promote the planting of marijuana, and especially the good one for export, for extraction to use medicine and other good things. And Kenya will get a big reward economically from this. He's also saying he's going to encourage snake farming, and we are going to harvest snake venom. We'll milk venom from the snakes and make vaccines and its venom, which we will sell as medication. He's talking of bushmeat. We're going to be getting dogs, some wildlife, hyenas, it's mentioned in some areas, and we will get their meat and some of their products for sale. So when these things are done, they have an economic value, but there is also the health aspect. For me, as Dr. BMS, and for other people who are thinking like me, parents, for example, we worried that with the legalization of cannabis farming, people will start escalating the use of marijuana, and will get more of the health problems, addiction included. And so probably this may not be a good thing, but politically speaking, the choice is out there for the people, for you and me. And so in this video, I would just like to ask you, what do you think about what Professor Wajackoyah is saying? Do you think legalization of marijuana will cause a health problem, will cause a health or drug addiction problem? Do you think farming snakes to harvest venom will cause health problems? Maybe people will get lots of snake bites and other health problems associated with dealing with snakes, diseases that are borne by snakes. do you think farming dogs for export of their meat and some of the wild animals will it introduce health problems that we have not encountered before? I will leave that to you to make a decision at a political level and vote for Professor Wajackoyah or not. But what I would like you to ponder as Dr. BMS from a professional point of view is that as you make your choice, ask yourself, are we as a people ready to make a distinction between marijuana, for example, for economic use against marijuana for recreational use? Or will we be confused in between and we have our children, our young people starting to use it for the wrong purpose that Professor Wajackoyah is not intending to do? Also, Professor Wajackoyah of importance is that he does not talk much about other health problems, the health agenda, because, like I said, his main focus of the manifesto he released is in areas of economics. And so we would like to know, maybe if we got a chance to be with him, away from growing marijuana and what it can do for us, what about our other problems in the health arena? What will you do? And as you make your choice for Professor Wajackoyah or against him, then remember this. The veterans, Baba and Hustler, their manifestos do not have those new outrageous things like marijuana from Wajackoyah, but they talk about health in more detail than Professor Wajackoyah. And both of them, Hustler and Baba, are talking about expanding universal health care, which is good, and it means every Kenyan has access to health care. They're even talking about reducing our premiums from NHIF, which will be the vehicle they'll use, both of them, to deliver the universal health care. Baba is baptized his strategy as Babacare, probably coming from Obamacare. And Hustler is talking about creating a health commission, recruiting more community health workers, and increasing the allocation in the national budget for health from 4% to 15%. So both Baba and Hustler have a little bit more depth in their agenda for health compared to Wajackoyah, but it still is vague. They don't go into the very deep specifics about what to do to help the health of Kenyans to improve and access to healthcare to be better than it is now. And talking about what should be done then will bring me to what I would like to say as the important things that our leaders should be talking about in their manifesto about healthcare. And these are the 6 pillars of good healthcare or good health systems. What should be a good system of health in a country looking like? These 6 are important pillars which, if each is addressed, will ensure that the health system that we enjoy as Kenyans will be okay. And I'll just quickly go through them. Health financing, how we get the money to run our health facilities, our health bills from a personal level to institutional level. And in this, they have talked about NHIF as an insurance. But there is more than NHIF can do, and we need more clarity on that. We've got health information systems so that people who are within the health system can have information about them, their data, their illnesses, and what is being done for them, transmitted in real time for them to get good services. Are our leaders talking about how to improve this? I leave that out to you, but I'm sensitizing you to that. Health management. Our managers in the hospitals, in the health facilities, in the public health system, are they good managers? Do we have good management, good leadership, good governance, rules, structures? You need to think about that as we evaluate the manifestos of our leaders in health matter. The health delivery system, are our health services efficient? Are they well spread out so that everyone who needs can reach them within the shortest time? Are they efficient? Do they respond to the needs of people? When you go to a health facility, do you get served well within the time that is reasonable? All these things have a bearing on how health is useful to the citizens, and there are things that we need to interrogate. The health workforce, our doctors, nurses, laboratory technicians, public health officers, our physiotherapists, all the people who work in the health sector. Are they there? Are they enough? Are they well trained? What are our leaders talking about this, and what do they plan to do about this? Health supplies and innovation, the medicines in the hospitals, the X-ray machines, the other equipment you need, the innovation about new things that we need to solve our problems. Recently, we had COVID and we needed to have vaccines. People have had to research and innovate and manufacture vaccines. Are our training facilities, our universities, our research institutes, KEMRI, and the others, are they well equipped? Do you think our leaders are addressing the health system of Kenya comprehensively as per these pillars that I have mentioned? I'll leave you to decide that as you decide who you will choose between these leaders who are fronting themselves for leadership positions. But as I finish, I would like to say, as Dr. BMS, that if I was to evaluate the agenda of the top leaders we have in matters of health and the agenda they have, I would say that all of them fall short, in my opinion. They need to do a bit more to develop a coherent agenda that will solve the health problems that Kenyans have. Professor George Wajackoyah, I would say he is sensational. He's a maverick, I call him, but he is vague. He is introducing new things that have got a health bearing, like marijuana growing, but he does not talk about how he will solve emergent problems from this. So he is sensational, but he is vague in his agenda. Baba is glossy, but also he is vague. He's talking about Baba care, increasing access to health, universal health care, reducing NHIF premiums. But if you look at the 6 pillars that I have mentioned, that is not enough, it's not comprehensive, hence he is vague. Hustler is prescriptive, I would say over prescriptive. He mentions this and that here, but it's not coherent again, it is not complete, therefore it is vague. And so with this, I can say all our top leaders have got a bit of this and that touching on health agenda, but it needs to be developed. And so you as a voter, when you go out to vote 3 weeks from now, whoever you will choose to vote, bear this in mind, that your health will improve if all the pillars that ensure a good health system are strengthened. And this is what you should be asking of your leaders as you vote, and even when they are in office, so that your health is well taken care of in body, mind, and soul, the Dr. BMS way. See you again in another video of Dr. BMS, and make a wise choice when you vote for your leaders in 3 weeks' time.